Right, this week we're going to talk about selections. Um, so what we're going to do, got a couple of examples here, and we'll just go through some of the options. Now, if you've installed version 2.6 onwards, there's a new option right here called Object Selection Tool, but you need to turn it on. So if we go into the Edit and go to the bottom and pick Settings, you'll see the second option down is called Machine Learning. And
Yep.
you can install both of these depending on whether you want it's the CPU. I can't remember if it gives you the option for GPU as well, but you have to install them. They're like add-ons. Um, it's a bit different to Photoshop. That's done in the cloud, and Photoshop might actually use your data. That's in their terms and conditions. Whereas this is done locally on your machine, so nothing goes up onto the web. Anyway, install those two options. Obviously, you already got it installed. It does take a little bit of space, but not much, to be honest. I've seen bigger photos than those two downloads. Okay, so selecting. Why do you want to select? Well, it's because you want to apply, generally speaking, you want to apply um, an option here or here to basically restrict it to a particular area. Adjustment, that's the word I was trying to look for. So adjustment or filter. So we want to say modify this car for some reason, and there are half a dozen ways of going about this. Um, you can see here, I won't pick on the object selection. We'll pick on the more classic option, which is the selection tool, selection brush tool, W on the keyboard. And if I come over, if I make the brush a bit bigger, I can go around and start selecting parts of the car. Now, I can be quite liberal here with a big brush, and you can see it picking stuff uh, fairly easily. But when you want to get into more detail, you can reduce the size of the brush. Let's say this wing mirror here. We can start selecting the mirror. There we go. Oh, and this little bit of a bonnet. There we go. Come back. Here, we've selected a bit of the tyre. So we've over selected. Now to remove that, if you read down the bottom, it will say Alt to subtract. So what you do is you hold the Alt key down, and as I move across it, it removes that selection, which is quite nice. Don't know what that is. I'll remove it. Oh, it's yeah, okay. It's a hole in the wheel. It's looking at the grass behind. And the same here, hold the Alt key down and just, oh, that didn't take much effort. If I reduce the size of the brush and just come down, now this can be very tricky because
How
um,
did you quickly reduce the size of the brush?
um, on the keyboard, you've got the, next to the P, you've got the square brackets.
Right, yes.
Yep. So the left square bracket is make it smaller, and the right square bracket is
Hmm.
make it bigger, which is a lot better, easier than going up here trying to. So you can just change it quite easily. So this will always be tricky, no matter what. Basically, you've got a reflection of the grass into the car So you can just about make out a line there. So we'll try, but it will probably be a bit hit and miss, and you probably have to manually go back and muck around with this a little bit. So I can press the Alt key and bring that. I can hardly tell from here whether that's meant to be part of the car or not. So, but that's a basic selection there. And again, if I want to include the light, it's gone too far, come back, hold the Alt key down and go around. So that's basic selection. It's quite a good tool. Oh, missed a bit here, so make the key a bit bigger. Just run that along. There we go. That's better. And some of the things you might want to do now. So we got the car, but you might not want the headlight. So what you would do is come in here, hold the Alt key down, and you can remove the light from the selection. Because you might be doing a color change or something, and you don't want it to affect parts of the car, so you can do that. But if there are options here. So you've got it defaults to add. You can press this button to subtract, but holding the Alt key down is just so much simpler. So once we've got that, you could now apply a filter. So let's do that. Let's um, pick levels. So I'll only apply it inside the marching ants, but it's not applying it to the oh, not applying it to. So that's quite nice. You can increase the um, uh, contrast between the background and the car. But I'm going to delete that for the moment because what you'd probably normally do here is um, you want to refine your selection. A little button here called Refine. If we click on that, and what it's showing you is anything with the red is not selected. So that's showing that this light is not selected, nor this wheel, etc. And what you can do where it's the selection's not very nice, and unfortunately most of it's pretty good, but along here with a bit of extra selection, you can repick. So what I can do is if I reduce the brush to about the right size, so if I go along here, I'm telling Affinity to take another look at that, and it's having a little think. And again, it's still there a little bit, so I can do that's basically telling it to have a look. Now, what I can do is if I know that bit there definitely shouldn't be selected, I can tell it whether this bit is part of the foreground or the background. So I'm going to tell it it's part of the foreground, and if I just wave my brush, it might be hard to see, but you see that slightly red here. If I just run it over, has a little think, and it finds the edge. So I can do it here. You see it snapping back to the edge of the car. I find that quite useful. The matte works sometimes, but if you definitely know that something is in the selection or out of the selection, if you want to definitely include it, use foreground. You can just run that over and it just go around the objects. But if it's definitely something that should be included, then you say it's part of the background and you click on the background um, uh, icon here. So if I wanted to select that light, I'd say background, increase. I'd just run over that. And now that's all part of the background. What I really want to do is say, no, this is all part of the foreground. That was silly. So I can just come back in and go, no, no, that's all wrong. And it will redo it. And you see it, even though I didn't paint on it, it took it back to the edge. So it's quite clever. But matte is basically um, go over the edge and tells Affinity to take another look and try and do a better job. The trouble is, it's done quite a good job. um, yeah, that's always going to be messy. Okay, so once you're happy with that, we can just hit apply. And now we've got a better, um, the dotted lines might look pretty much the same, but it is a better selection now. And you can always go back, you can always hit refine again, and it will redo it, and then you can do some more changes if you want. But what you can't do, once you've applied once I take this, let's do that levels adjustment again. Um, that's now using what's on the screen as the mask. So if we apply that, and if I hold the Alt key down and click on the mask, that shows you exactly what the mask looks like. Click on any other part of the image, and it will go away. So we've done this change, but it's only applied it to the car. Looks quite mean, that car now, doesn't it? So the point is that this selection tool is quite powerful, but you do also have other ones here. So if you had a circular shape, you can just create a circle and clip it to the circle. If I then had a column, oh, sorry, let me do that again. Let's do a circle. I can just move it around. Then I go back and pick a column. And up here, what does it say down the bottom? Always read the bottom, it tells you loads of stuff. Shift to add. So if I press the shift key, oh, was that not adding? There we go. Hit the add button. Do a rectangle and then do circle. And it's doing it there. And you can see like when it starts to intersect, it adds to it. So that can be quite useful if you're trying to mask maybe a building which has definite straight edges. So you could use this technique to build up a selection of something that's geometric. On a car like this, not very useful, but you can do it. So you can just build up these different, if I press shift again, I can increase that and decrease that selection. Now, the other thing you can do, if I don't want that selection anymore, if I want to remove it, the easiest thing to do is you've got three buttons at the top here, which is deselect, um, invert selection. So sometimes you want to make a selection and you don't want it to apply to the thing inside the selection. You want it to apply to everything else. So you can invert it. So if I click on that, it's now the selection is between the outer border and the edge of this item. So if I pick levels again, that will darken everything apart from that part of the photo. So I've inverted it. Press invert again and do it just inside that selection and nowhere else. So that's quite useful. And then if you don't want the selection anymore, just hit the X, red X, and it removes it. Okay. So that the selection brush used to be the classic way of picking stuff. You've now got this, it looks like an owl. It's an object selector. So if we click on that, I'm not doing anything. I'm just offering the mouse, and it's saying, "Oh right, you want this," and it's hatching the area that you think that you want. If I move to the outside, oh, you want all the greenery at the top. If I go to the bottom, oh, you want all the concrete, or you want the grass. So it's breaking it up. So grass is different to the bush. But also, what also I can do here is, if I can remember, I haven't used it much myself, to be honest. Yeah, press the Alt key. Again, read the bottom, always helpful. And if I move around, it's now saying, okay, I'm just doing bits of the selection that you picked up, the entire car. Now I'll only do the windscreen or the door or the rear door. And what you can do is you could make it multiple parts. So I'll say, okay, and you can see how just moving your mouse a little bit can change what's selected. So, you didn't select the front of there's a line there. It's the bonnet hood. It's actually quite clever and it's picked it up. If I left mouse click, it's added the marching ants for that area. Now what I could do is come here and say, okay, I want the door, I want that door, I want this part of the car, and you can go and select different bits of it, and it will merge. I've picked so much, it's merged all of it now. But I think if I haven't tried it on people's faces, but I think it will try to face. Yeah, I can see his ears. That'll do. Okay, so let's see what it does to a person. But it's having got a little clock there. It's having a little think. So there it's picked all of him. And if I hold the Alt key down, now it's picking his face and ear. Um, there, if I move around here, now it's his face only and excluded most of his beers. So it's got his face and neck. So that might be quite good. So if I do that and then go to here and then apply the levels. So it's just affecting his face and his neck, which is quite nice actually. And you might want to bring up the highlights. There you go, make it more contrasty. And that's just doing a very simple selection for you. Again, Let's delete that. Okay, I can still use the refine, so I can come in here and I can still now go, okay, it seems to have selected part of his ear here. I'll go, no, this ear should be foreground. Oh, that's a bit too much. Made a mistake. Background. No, this is definitely background. But this foreground here, this part of his beard, yeah, I don't want it. I don't want to include his beard so much. There we go. Or I do want to include his beard is what I'm saying. So I can just paint on what I want to keep. Okay. So now if I apply anything, do that bit there. There we go. So if I apply that, okay, you can see it's now selected his beard as well. So you can mix and match your selections and you can refine them all. So you basically pick the tool that you're most comfortable with or which is most suitable for the type of selection you're doing. See, and you can use a mixture of it. So you might use the automatic stuff to get a quick basic selection, and then you might use the refine tool to refine it down. And any automatic selection is never 100%. Doesn't matter what the package is. You'll always be something that's not quite right, and you need to intervene. Okay, so that's what it does recognize bits of face and what have you. I don't know if it does eyes and stuff like that. I haven't actually tried it that far. Let me hit the X. Oh, didn't mean to do that. Alt. No, it doesn't. It doesn't seem to be. I think Shop might have done a little bit more on that side, or Photoshop, I should say. I think they recognise like lips and ears and eyes and stuff like that. Oh, Shift Alt. Let me try that. No, that doesn't seem to be working. Well, not for me anyway. Not on this guy. Okay. Anyway, oh, didn't mean to do that. Yeah, undocked for some reason. Okay. I'm going to show you one more thing, really, which is this. This is taking it a little bit further, and this is where you just don't you want to do more than just separate the object from the background. Um, just to apply some lighting or color effect because you're going to actually change the background. And what I want to do with this one is do a motion blur. So this is what people might try to do. If I pick my owl, come down here, come on, what are you doing? Hmm, yeah, I don't know what it's doing there. Oh, well, it's given up. Let me just do it the old-fashioned way. Um, all right, let's just pick the bird. There we go, very quickly. And definitely want his beak. And don't want this bit. There we go. Don't want that bit. Do want that, and that. There we go. And I do want, oh, go to the other side. I do want his claw. There we go. A bit more. There we go. Okay, that'll do. Well, a little bit. Um, hmm. Okay, right. Just do that. So it's not quite right. I haven't quite got that right. But what you would do is you'd refine that. Okay, that's not right up here. Let's say no, that's foreground, and that's foreground. Okay, I'm happy with that. Apply. Now, if I want to blur the background, I would invert. So now it's going to do everything but the bird. And I come in here and go motion blur, and I up it, and you can see all the backgrounds going nice and blurred, but there's a problem. The problem is the bird still exists on the lower layer. So it's still the motion is still being added. You can see the motion there is spilling outside of the bird. The bird looks okay, but you don't want that. So there's another way of doing it. So I'm going to delete that. And this is where you add, um, let me go back to, let's invert again. I've got the bird again. And what I want to do is hit refine. Right, I'm happy with the bird. No, actually, yeah, yeah, I want the claws, or talons would be the correct term. Right, okay, that will do. So what I want to do is I want this bird on its own. So where I just hit apply, instead I've got this output, and I can say in a new layer with a mask. And what that will do, creates a new layer with a mask on it, and the bird is on its own. And it's automatically turned the background off. So I can turn the background back on. So now it's isolated that bird. Now what I can do is I can go to the background here, and basically I want to get rid of this bird because I want to blur the background without the bird in it. So I'm going to pick my in painting brush, and I'm just quickly going to go, oh, no, Control Z. Always helps if you pick the right background. Right, let's pick that. And I'll just go round the bird. There we go. And you can use this technique for all sorts of things. All right, so well, basically, here we go, no bird. We do have the bird because it's on this top layer. There's the bird. But the nice thing is now that background, I can blur that and it won't affect the bird. So I can go motion blur, ramp it up. Whoop, let's just ramp that. Come here. There we go. Ramp it up. I want to preserve edges because we don't want this effect on the edge of the picture. And one thing you can do, and you can do this in a lot of the boxes, I've gone up to 100 pixels and I'd still like it to blur even more. So I can actually type 200 and it blurs it even more. So even though the slider's got to the end, you can actually type 300. It makes it even more blurry. But I don't want you see you've got an angle here. I want it to be more up and down. or sorry, at 45 degrees. Because when I turn the um, right, this was where it will go wrong. So if I turn that on, the bird is blurry. So what I want to do is move this motion blur below the bird. So um, filters and changes only affect below them, not above them. So if I move that motion blur below the bird, it won't motion blur it. So now we've got this bird. You as a photographer has just taken this photo and you've been tracking this bird. It's in perfect focus, but of course the background is moving. So that's how you emulate. And you could do this, you know, the triathlon the other week. If you had a cyclist riding a bike, if you just can't get the right panning to get him completely in focus and the background out of focus, you could up your shutter speed, just take everything in focus, and then in post add motion blur to the background. You could do that. And I have done that for an eagle one, not this one, but for one I took myself. So you can play around with that. So that's 100 and I wouldn't say it was 45. I'd say it's probably 135. Let's go for 160. Right. So I've changed the angle a little bit, and I think that's more in keeping. Now we got one more advantage that we've now got this bird on its own, is I can move it around. So if I pick up the little move tool, I can just grab it and I can move it around the picture. So I can, it might be that when I took the photo, it was over this side, too close to the right-hand side. So I can now move the bird back so he's got space in front of him and make a much nicer composition. And again, you can see it's using the entire, still got the entire layer under there. You could, if you wanted to, not particularly necessary, but you could just um, rasterize that, and it will bring it in, so it's a little bit easier if you had multiple items that you wanted to move around uh, the scene. And there we go. You happy with that, Ralph?
Yes, yeah, I'm amazed. I think it's fantastic. I was trying to select an object yesterday that was quite complex edges,
Yeah,
and I just got frustrated and gave up. I can now see that there's that tool that you've just got me to add to my schedule um, is the answer to the problem. So I'm going to have a play with that later.
yeah, yeah. And as I say, any of those tools, you can do the selection, and if it's not quite right, you can use the refine tool to refine it and say, no, that's in and this bit's out, and just make it a little bit better overall. And you can even let me just oh, I've rasterized it now. Let me control Z that. Let me just go back. Right, okay. So I could turn off this image here. You can see where it's a little bit, it doesn't really, because of the background, nobody would ever notice, but you can go in, click on the mask, pick a black brush, and I could just tidy up this edge if I wanted to.
Mm.
It won't make much difference. And I could come in here and tidy that up if I if I if it was important for whatever reason. And if I muck it up, I just pick the white brush and it would paint it back in. So I could paint that back in. I've moved it around. You do this before you start moving it around. But you can do that type of thing. There we go. So I'm going to leave it at that. It's a bit shorter today, but I think there's enough there to chew on. Thank you very much for watching and catch you next time. Thank you.